All right, well, welcome back to Exhaust Sports Auto. My name is Kevin, and we are once again back here at Cary Imports to do another little review for you guys. This is actually a 2014 Range Rover Sport, and this thing has about 89,000 miles on it, going for about $26,000. Now, one thing I can say to you is if you are interested in this vehicle, please get a warranty, because that's primarily why I came to this dealership, because you can buy something like this, which originally stickered for like what, 70 grand starting price, to now this at like a third of that, and it's just like you can still get a warranty for it. So that's going to be the primary message with this video. If you're interested in something like this, yes, it's a great deal because it has been heavily depreciated, and that depreciation should allow you to budget for a warranty. So there you go. All right, so let's just get this bad boy out on the road now. Enough talking, but yeah, Cary Imports information will be found in the description box below, like always. So let's see what this thing is all about, because I actually came here before to test drive a 2013 Range Rover Sport that was supercharged, so it had like the 510 horsepower, like supercharged V8. Well, this is not that. This is actually just a V6 HSE trim, but it's a supercharged V6. It's the exact same motor that I experienced in the Jaguar XJ. And let me tell you something about that Range Rover I drove. Aside from that brutish power, I love that thing. That thing had about 140 horsepower. 140,000 miles on it. Pretty good. But anyway, that thing had about 140,000 miles on it. This 2013 supercharged Rover I drove. I'm going to leave a link to that down in the description box below, but oh my God, I absolutely fell in love with that thing. It felt like you were driving a brand new vehicle. So when I saw them having this car in with 89,000 miles, and it's like the next generation version of that, I really wanted to try it out, because these Rovers, I think, at first I didn't really understand. I never driven one, so I didn't know what the affection was towards these vehicles. I don't know why rich people had such a huge thing for them, but now I get it. They age like fine wine. I was not expecting to say that, because Jags don't typically age like that. The leather quality is so supple. This will probably even outdo Lexus, actually, the way that this thing has aged. I mean, we'll get to that in the interior segment, but let's talk about the swagger, the prestige of these things. It's absolutely unmatched. Big boy Rover, it's about as close as most people can get to a double R, right? Yeah, it's definitely presidential. Rich people love it. It's a great little option. Yeah, it's highly coveted by, the 1%. So enough of that. Let's talk about some of these driving dynamics. This motor is the 3-liter V6. Gone is the 5-liter V8 that used to come as standard on the previous generation models. This now utilizes a 340 horsepower, 332 pound-feet of torque supercharged V6, like I mentioned before. Again, I've tried this before with the Jag XJ, and I loved it. But there's another big change that occurred with this car, and that is the entire body structure. So for 2014, this is all new. This is the latest generation Rover that's runs to the present day, right? 2014 to 2020. This thing shed about 800 pounds over the other Rover that I had tested, and that's primarily because this now utilizes a full all aluminum monocoque unibody chassis body platform thing, whatever you want to call it, and it is tremendous. 800 pounds. This thing weighs in about 4,700 pounds, which is actually not bad for what this is. It's about 191 inches long. It's about the same size as like a mid-size luxury car, and it weighs about as much as a full-size luxury car. So really not bad for a SUV like this. This thing, the speed of this will easily get away from you. The refinement, it is so excellent. You're going to be doing like 10, 15 over the speed limit and not ever really know it. So that's one of the great things about driving this car. I will say, however, yeah, I admit the other Rover I drove, it was like that sport supercharged thing, so it's like one of the sportiest Rovers you can get. This one has a little bit more float to it, the way that it drives, like the acceleration, the brake travel, all of it, it has a little bit of a delay / lag to it. That's the only like thing that I noticed driving this car, but as a whole, this is so smooth, so comfortable. I really appreciate it. But yeah, like I mentioned, this thing weighs like 800 pounds less than the previous generation, and it's all due to the weight savings from that entire aluminum body. So it's really inexcusable, really, for a vehicle of this price tag to not have a full aluminum body, because you see something like the Ford F-150, which offers a full aluminum body structure to it. A vehicle that costs $80,000 should easily have that as well. I mean, I get it, the F-150, it's more like the economies of scale thing going on. They mass produce those, but this, they charge the money, so you should be able to get a superior product. This thing is not the fastest thing in the world, nor does it need to be. This 340 horsepower is more than enough to shove this thing along, because obviously it doesn't weigh a whole lot, and to get up to speed limit driving, this is effortless, and that's really all I want. You can have this thing on the highway. It's never going to be an issue for you, because this supercharged engine, it kind of revs out like a naturally aspirated motor, and that makes sense because it's supercharged, not turbocharged, so that's a great thing. Seating position is absolutely great. You see absolutely everything. I mean, it's like a fishbowl in here. It's not even remotely an issue. It has a great ride height to it. It's a primary reason why people buy stuff like this. This is the epitome of SUVs. I get why people love this. This does kind of everything. So when this thing first came out, they touted many things. This is going to be the ultimate Rover. It's groundbreaking. It's breathtaking. It's all of these things. Of course, they're going to say that's their own product, but they did do a lot of great things here. I mean, this is by far the most off-road capable thing that you can possibly buy. This is not just meant for you to tackle a bit of winter and a bit of gravel. No. This is meant to like scale mountains and all that good stuff. None of that you're going to do. So I don't really care about it. I'm not going to talk too much about it. Just know it can do all that stuff. All the things that you want it to do, it'll do all that. Some guy in an FJ Cruiser really oogling and ogling at this thing. But we are far superior than him because we're in the Rover. But anyway, enough of that shallow talk. Yeah, it's got all the little hill descent, all the actuator things that make it do what it does. I mean, all the limited slip diffs, it's got all that stuff, and that's fantastic. But mainly I wanted to see what this thing would be like out on the road. This thing obviously utilized the double wishbone suspension architecture up in the front, big aluminum arms and all that good stuff for the suspension, and you got the big multi-links in the rear. Of course, that double wishbone is going to obviously allow it to have far more travel in the suspension, and that's great for off-road, but really irrelevant, because primarily what that does is it gives you a far better ride characteristic. This thing is riding extremely well. I am not sure if this thing does have the air suspension or not. I will let you know. I think it does, actually. It's not super plush. I mean, it is very comfortable, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to like hide everything from you. I mean, you're going to know that you're going over bad bumps, but it's still supremely comfortable. It still eats it up like it's nothing. It's a super non-fatiguing experience, and that's what's most important with a car like this. Not only that, it handles tremendously well, not just because of the weight savings, because actually that supercharged Rover, the previous gen, drove extremely well too. I mean, I actually preferred that to the Porsche Cayenne. Again, that one a little bit more sport oriented. This is just a normal HSE, but this thing does handle extremely well, and we're about to test a little bit more of that in a bit here. Steering feel is extremely it's kind of on the lighter side, not a ridiculous amount, but very easy to just drive and pilot this thing. It's got such a neutral balance to it. Another thing, these kind of British cars, Italian cars, they do feel completely different from the German stuff. It's not quite as sterile and soulless as those cars. Let's see how well this thing can bust a U-turn, because they may have potentially closed off my favorite little test area, whatever. Not the best turning circle. Gonna have to do a little three-pointer thing. That kind of pisses me off. When they block off my favorite road, that's enough to piss me off. But when I have to do the little three-pointer, it's a no-go for me. That's okay. It's still very easy to whip this. It's only 191 inches long, so it's not the biggest thing on the planet. A stupendous amount of grip, of course. Go over these railroad bumps here. See how that does. Soak that up, no real issues. Again, you hear it, but you don't feel it inside the cabin. These seats are definitely doing a great job of that as well. A lot of jerk-offs on the road, and obviously they're pissing me off like always, but again, this thing is doing a great job of lowering my blood pressure. I really like that in the car. Yep, there you go. There's one right there, but let's see. bit of delay off the throttle, but that's okay. Yeah, this is a great chassis for an SUV. Like, you wouldn't even believe it. It's handling extremely well. Yeah, that was great. That was phenomenal. Just did everything I wanted there. Again, there's a little bit of a delay, a little bit of lag from everything. I'm surprised by that. This thing has made it to an 8-speed ZF transmission, and that's fine. But because usually the 8-speed transmissions are from ZF are one of the best that you can use. But you know, this is not a turbocharged vehicle. I'm kind of surprised by the amount of lag that there is. But you know, whatever. Apologies, some of my camera equipment back there kind of rattling and shaking around. That's another thing. Aside from my camera stuff, there is literally zero issues with creaks and rattles. This is super refined. No issues whatsoever. Testing some more of that handling here. The power kind of like wafts you along. It's just kind of like that typical luxury experience, really just wafts you about. Again, like I mentioned, a lot of obstacles, a lot of idiots. For all these things, is doing a great job. You know, like nice little mob mobile. You know what I'm saying? Not a mob. You know, doing quick little maneuvers, little procedures, all that stuff. You know, is handling all those things terrifically. You know, you wouldn't expect an SUV like this to handle like this, but all their suspension work, all the stuff that they touted on their press releases, it's not a joke. It's not hyperbole. It's not a, you know, drama or anything like that. It's real. I mean, it really does handle the part. It really does feel the part. I do really enjoy driving this car. Said this about the supercharged Rover as well. It's the other thing is, like, with 90,000 miles, it feels like a brand new car. That's a primary thing with me. I mean, it's just like you would not expect that out of a Rover. You know, after all the things you hear about these things being unreliable and all that stuff, this thing is handling itself beautifully. I mean, it's aged like fine wine, which is typically what I say about a Lexus. And if you look at Jags, I mean, they're garbage. I mean, they're terrible. They're just like little rattly little garbage cars. Yeah, definitely a smooth riding car. Goes well, stops well. A lot of confidence driving this thing. One of the real things I didn't like were like the little delays, a little floaty kind of nature to it. But again, it's not that type of car that you drive aggressively. I mean, this is like that vehicle where you kind of just, it's a smooth kind of cruiser. Nobody's really going to be driving this aggressively like that. It's like for those rich 1%ers who want to look the part, look prestigious, have a nice big comfy car that's safe. It's still a nice big 4,700 pound SUV. Another thing, you know, before we get into interior segment, is due to the weight loss of this car, this particular trim gets about 17 city, 23 highway. Long gone are the 14, 13 mpg days. I mean, these things actually get somewhat decent fuel economy, so not bad at all. So with that established, let's go ahead and let's talk about the interior, shall we? Okay, now that we are inside this interior, you know, I'm not going to spend too much time here because it's very similar to the Jaguar XJ in that previous generation Range Rover that I drove. Steering wheel, you know, it's not some ridiculously super thick steering wheel. This is actually like kind of on the thinner side, very nice to grip onto. I really do appreciate this. Again, so everything here is like leather wrapped and it is aged perfectly. I don't know what it is, but something about the supplier that they use for their leather is just top notch. It's supple, it's soft, and it ages perfectly. A lot of Lexus products do age beautifully. I think that's has a lot to do with the fact that they use like the synthetic type of leather, but it feels great. It's plush, it does the job, and it ages perfectly. This is real, and it's fantastic. I mean, there's literally not a wrinkle on here. If you stepped in, you can actually park this in a Range Rover like showroom, just wash it up, clean it up a little bit. It'll pass for like a brand new car. I'm telling you, that's just how perfectly this is aged. I don't know. That's just, honestly, that's what it is. I don't know how that's possible, but all right. A couple little buttons on the steering wheel as well. That helps. I mean, they feel all right. They're not the best thing in the world. You know, have nice little heated steering wheel function as well. That's great. And let's talk about that seat before we talk about anything else. I mean, they are so soft, so supple, and they are very supportive. It makes this car the entire package in terms of comfort. Like, it's seating position is great. The comfort, it's non-fatiguing. Like, I have zero issues with this at all. You have nice little armrest things that kind of pop down here. You know, that's nice, right? Okay, these doors feel of quality. You know, it's a full aluminum vehicle, but like, you know, when you open and close the door, I don't like the door handle. I always get my little finger stuck in there, but they close nice. They're really small, actually, you know, despite it being such a reasonably large vehicle. We'll talk about that in a bit. But they're easy to close, easy to reach over and grab, and they feel great when you open and close them, so that's nice. You have nice one-touch automatic windows for all 4 windows this time. The memory seat function, that exists, but it looks kind of juvenile, kind of blocky, kind of childish. It's like 4 buttons along with your unlock and lock button. Kind of strange. It's just a strange way to do it. It's not the most dignified, doesn't look the best, but someone, I think, in the comment section of my Supercharged Rover video, I also made fun of the clock, but apparently they said that style of clock and that font was like some classic Swiss thing or something. I don't know. To me, it looked like some cheap Timex toy thing for a child to play with. I don't know, but that wasn't really the best look I've seen. Neither is this, but whatever. It works. Everything works in this car, by the way. There's not a single check engine light. Everything works. All the electronics work. The HVAC works. So there you go. There's that as well. Same thing with that 2013 one that I reviewed as well. There's like literally nothing wrong with it. Horn works too. That's nice. Okay, Meridian sound system. This vehicle is equipped with that. I think it's that ridiculous 1700 watt thing. It does sound good. It doesn't sound ridiculously great, but it does sound pretty good. It's clear. It's got the bass. It's got everything you ever wanted with it. Very good. Like the Meridian. It's got that option. Very baller. It's pretty much everything you want. This is a very black on black, you know what I'm saying? It's a black exterior, black interior. We'll say there's a bit of a piano gloss black plastic in the center, which has been really scratched up. That's really the only primary fault. Otherwise, it's a very solid, well put together vehicle. I love the way they do their HVAC. This infotainment screen is very good. Still reacts beautifully. Nice little camera system thing. Parking sonars, all that stuff still works. So there's that. Gauge cluster, very simple. Nothing crazy, nothing weird or stupid about it. Everything works. Little 6,500 RPM red line. So there's that. Storage spaces, the door pockets are phenomenal. You can easily fit large water bottles. The only thing I don't like about the door, like I mentioned, is the door handle. It's just, you kind of have to get used to it. You can easily get your little finger stuck in there. That's the only thing I didn't like. Center armrest, it doesn't exist. In fact, it's actually a refrigerator. So there you go. You got that little baller option in there, along with a USB and an aux cable. That's in there as well. Cup holders in the middle. Glove box is a decent size, so that kind of makes up for the fact that there is no armrest area. So okay, big panoramic sunroof. This vehicle also has that. However, it doesn't creak and rattle. Like I mentioned, it's very solid, no issues. Now, rear seats. This is where I have a bit of an issue with this vehicle, because it's surprisingly it's not super accommodating for a vehicle of this stature and size. I'm 5'11". Obviously, I fit perfectly in the rear. I have plenty of space, plenty of tow room. Headroom isn't an issue really for me. I'm again 5'11", and the thing is, though, I sit rather close to the steering wheel, and so I give the rear occupants a generous amount of space just naturally. So if you're a little bit bigger, over 6 feet tall, there's surprisingly not a whole lot of space back there. But again, you still have the big comfy seats, still more than enough for a family, of course. And you have your own HVAC, you have heated seats back there, that's great. And the trunk is a great size as well. So there is that. As a whole, nice little whip. Automatic headlights, by the way, I forgot to mention that. But anyway, nice little car, man. I really like these Rovers. I get the appeal of them. I like the way they drive. They're smooth. There's something different about them compared to the Audis and the Beamers and stuff like that. And again, it does everything. It's kind of like a supercar, but like the opposite of that. Because instead of being fast and all that stuff, this is like the super off-road capable thing, like a Ford Raptor, but like wearing a suit almost, if that makes sense. Wearing a tux, kind of, if you want to put it that way. Yeah, I get it. I would buy one. Personally, I really like these things. This is like the most baller kind of like prestigious family car you can ever ask for. Just make sure, again, I pray, I beg of you, please get a warranty. Again, that's why I come to this dealership, because they offer a dirt cheap warranty, or at least they do warranty these vehicles with this age and this many miles. So there is that. If that's something you want to take advantage of, all their information is down in the description box below, like always. But thank you again for watching this review. Take care and goodbye.